Hello and welcome to the part number 21 of the Node Editor tutorial series, and in this part we are going to do some cleanup. We are basically going to clean up this node graphic view, the keyPress event, because it's already starting to get a little bit messy. And the way we are going to do that is by creating a completely new window. So our widget is going inside of the Node Editor window, which will have some kind of menu. New, open, save, save as, usual stuff, undo, redo, delete, and we will implement these functions here so we can basically use the shortcuts for that. So the delete still works. If I press Ctrl Z, we get undo and everything still works. We will add the status bar, which is here, which is currently showing the scene position, and we can scroll all around as usual. Okay, so I hope you are excited and let's start coding. Okay, so first let's do some cleanup. We don't need to see this debug information about the history anymore because it already works. So I will set that to false. When I press play and I press Ctrl Z, I still do see something in the debug line. So probably this one is in the scene, node scene. When I go to the bottom here, we can just delete these lines. We don't need that anymore. Okay, and what next? For a while, this is a thing which actually bothers me. The Node Editor window is not a window, it's a Q widget itself. So let's go ahead and select this one, press Shift F6 and rename that to Node Editor widget. Let's do refactoring and this one should work. So let's try it again. Yeah, it looks like it works. And I also do want to rename this file. So with right click, refactor, rename, and this one should be Node Editor widget. So let's start application. It still works, which is awesome. Ctrl Z, Ctrl Shift Z, clicking, selecting everything, deleting, and our console is clean and clear, which is awesome. Everything has changed where it was supposed to change. So we are ready to continue. So the next thing to solve is in the node graphic view, the keyPress event. As you can see, it's kinda getting a little bit messy. So let's go ahead and start creating some Q main window. Inside of the window we will put our node widget, node editor widget. So basically we can go ahead and start creating the window first. So let's add a new Python file. We are going to call that node editor window. Okay, add this here and let's go up to the main. And we are going to use window, and we are going to import it from Node Editor window itself. Okay, so I will copy this line or this name, and let's start here. So that's gonna be a class. Name is Node Editor window. It's gonna derive from Q main window. We will override the constructor. We will call the parent one. Pretty usual stuff. Then we are going to call self init UI, and in the function define init UI. We are going to create first a menu bar. So menu bar, will equal to self dot menu bar. So maybe let's import from by qt5 dot qt widgets, import everything. Okay. And here in the menu bar we can start creating some actions or menus. So let's first try to create a file menu, and that's gonna be menu bar dot add menu, and we are going to write file, and after we end up with the settings for the menu, for the main window itself, we can go ahead to the node editor widget, which is right here, and we are going to cut this line. We are going to set the geometry, and if we go back we will set up the title and use the show method like this. Okay, so here initialize menu, set window properties, and we of course we need to create our node editor itself, the widget. So node editor is gonna be node editor widget. We are going to pass self as the reference, and then we can say self set central widget, the node editor, with lowercase like this, and maybe that's enough for now. So let's try if it actually works. We need to import from node editor widget, import node editor widget like this one. That should be okay. And in the main function, node editor window, we should instantiate our window, node editor window. This should be okay. So let's try this one. It's not working. Because I misspelled it here. So it's not gonna be mode, but node. Refactor. Now let's try play. And now you can see we got a menu starting here. It's called file, and everything else should work as expected. What we can do next? Basically, how to add an action into the file menu. It's pretty simple. We can create some variable. We can say that it's a queue action. That's gonna take a few parameters. So we can set up, for example, I don't know, new. We can pass a file name, or maybe self. We can set shortcut, and that's gonna be, in our case, Ctrl+N. We can say action set tooltip. That's gonna be create new graph, and once the action is triggered, then we can say connect and pass a new function. So let's call that, I don't know, on file new, like this one. We are going to create a new method in this class that's gonna be on file new, and we will just print out on file new clicked, like this. Let's try that again. Here is file, there should be a new, and it's not. And the reason why it's not there is we need to go up here and say file menu dot add action and say the action like this, and I press file. Here is new. Once I click it, you can see on file new clicked, which is awesome. Next thing you can do is you can use this special ampersand character, which is here, and if you put this one and start the application and you press Alt, you can see the F is underlined, so therefore you can then use the N key or F key, which are the shortcuts. Once you click Alt, you can see them. If you click them only with the mouse button, they are not visible, but if you are used to use Alt key for that, for the menu itself, you will see the underscores there. So basically you need to do this stuff all over again for each of the separate actions in the menu bar. So we basically don't wanna write ourselves over and over again, so we can create a new method. Let's call that create ACT. We are going to take self, name, shortcut, tooltip, and callback. Inside of this method we can go ahead and pass everything what's here. So this is gonna be the name, this is gonna be the shortcut, this is gonna be the tooltip, and here's gonna be the callback. And we can return the action itself. So therefore we don't need this anymore, and we can just say self.create action, and we can pass new. The shortcut's gonna be Ctrl plus N, tooltip's gonna be create new graph, and we are going to call self on file new if this action is being triggered. Another method you can use in the menu is add separator, like this one, and we are going to have 3 other options, and the last one's gonna be exit. So let's write exit, and the shortcut for that's gonna be Ctrl Q. Tooltip is exit application, and here we are going to call self close. The other ones are open, save, and save as. We can pass the ampersand here. That's gonna be Ctrl Shift plus S. This one is gonna be Ctrl S, and Ctrl O is gonna be open. So open file, save file, save file as, and the methods are gonna be on file open, on file save, on file save as, and this is gonna be close, the exit. And the reason partially why we are doing this one is because we don't need to check out inside our it's not node editor widget, but it's node graphic view, this one. We don't need to check out for the events here anymore. So if I comment out, for example, the Ctrl S and Ctrl L, and I need to create this method here. So let me copy these two lines, and I will press Ctrl D, maybe not. Ctrl D several times, okay, and that's gonna be file new, file open, file save, and file save as. And that's gonna be file save and file open. And now when I press play, you can see when I press Ctrl S that on file save was clicked actually. So this is what we actually want here. Another menu we will use is gonna be the edit menu. So let's type it quickly. Edit menu is gonna be menu bar dot menu, and here is gonna be ampersand edit, and we can type add action self.create action, and the first one is gonna be undo, Ctrl+Z, undo last operation, self on edit undo. We can copy this line and copy the separator here. We will change this. This is gonna be redo. That's gonna be Ctrl plus Shift plus Z. Redo last operation. And what next? Another action will be delete. So delete. The shortcut for that is gonna be del key, delete selected items, on edit delete, so define on edit undo, print on edit undo. I'm going to copy this. The next one's gonna be redo, and the last action is gonna be on edit delete. So let's test it out. If I press Ctrl Z, on edit undo, and you can see the action here in the node graphic view is not being called at all, so therefore we don't need it. And the delete, I will change it a little bit later. So basically, let's start implementing the file new and other stuff. So if inside the window, if we press file new, then what's going to happen is we are going to call self central widget, we will access the scene, and we will say clear. So when I press play and I press Ctrl N or use the menu, you can see our scene got cleared. So this one is basically done. What about the file open? Basically, we are going to use the queue file dialog get open file name, and we are going to pass self as a parent, and the caption is gonna be open graph from file. And what is this function doing? As you can guess, probably we do have open dialog opened, which is awesome. So what's going to happen when this dialog closes? This dialog returns a tuple. So the first one is the file name, and the second one is filter, which was used in the file dialog itself. So basically, if the file name is empty, that means the open dialog was cancelled, then we are going to return, because we don't want to do anything here. Otherwise, we have chosen some file. So if os.path, and we don't know os yet, so let's import that. Import os. So if os.path.is file, so we can check if the file name is actually a file, and if it is, we can call self.centralWidget, access the scene, and we can say load from file and pass in the file name like this. So let's try that. I will press Ctrl O. We got our graph here, and if I choose it, you can see we got our testing graph loaded, which is perfect. What we can do next, if we press save and there is no known file name to our current graph, then we can basically call file save as. So let's implement the file save as first, and that's gonna be, again, we are going to use the queue file dialog, and this returns fname and filter, and this time we are going to use get save file name. We will pass self, and the caption will be save graph to file. And again, if the file name is empty, so the save dialog was closed, then we are going to return. Otherwise, we can store the file name somewhere. So let's create self file name. That's gonna be fname, and we can basically call file save function. So self on file save. So when this application starts, we will set the self file name to something like, I don't know, maybe we should put it here. So self dot file name is gonna be none by default, and we can continue with file save function. So basically, if self file name is none, return self on file save as. Otherwise, we can go ahead and call self.centralWidget.scene save to file, and we can pass self file name. And you know what? Let's type self status bar, because we can use status bar, and show message successfully saved, and we will print out the self file name. So we actually know that something happened. So let me try that. I will press Ctrl S and it asks me for a file name, so let's choose this one. I will call it graph2. I'm going to save this and you can see successfully saved, which is awesome. Now when I press Ctrl N and Ctrl O, I can load up the graph too, which is awesome. Great. So this one works. Let me check if the status bar is being available since the beginning. It is not, so maybe we can fix this one. If we go to the init UI, we can say somewhere here maybe initialize the status bar, and we can say self dot status bar dot show message, and we are going to show empty message. Yep, that can happen. What next can we do with the status bar? Maybe it could be useful if we can see the mouse position of the scene here in the status bar. So the way you can do this is by first one, we will create some label. So let's say self status mouse position will equal to q label, and this is gonna be empty string for now, and we can say self status bar dot add permanent and widget self status mouse position, like this. And as you can see, here is a little dash line, and inside here there is our q label we just created, and we just need to fill it up. So we can basically say something like node editor, which is basically here. So let's move it up. So node editor view, because we will create a new event or PyQt5 signal, which will always be triggered when the scene mouse position will change, and we will put that inside of the node graphic view. So in the view scene pos changed connect self on scene pos changed, like this. And if we go up to the view, node graphic view here, we can go right here underneath the class definition, and we are going to create a new PyQt5 signal. So the scene pos changed, this is the name of the signal we used or we wanna use, is gonna be PyQt signal, and it's gonna take two parameters, and these are integer, comma integer. Basically that means that we need to define when do we want to emit this signal, and in our case we already got here an awesome function called mouseMoveEvent, which is here. And before we leave with super.mouseMoveEvent, we can just say self.scene pos changed dot emit, and this way we are going to trigger the signal itself, and we can pass self dot last scene mouse position x and y, and we do want to make sure that it's gonna be an integer. So integer self dot last mouse, not mouse but scene mouse position dot y, like this one. And what's gonna be this variable this is gonna be defined here. We can say self last seen mouse position is gonna be self dot map to scene event dot position, like this. Okay, and now when I press play, it doesn't work because node editor window object has no attribute on scene position changed. We need to go up to the window and define this method here. So maybe we can go up here above the on file stuff and create this method here. So that's gonna be on scene position changed, and it's a signal. So this is going to take the parameter x and y, and we can say self dot status underscore mouse position set text, and we will say scene position is gonna be bracket %d and %d and close the bracket, and here we can pass x and y. So let's try that again, and look at that, we got our scene position here. Isn't that awesome? Replace, and successfully saved, and the scene position is still here. If I zoom out, you can see we can go all the way up to minus 30,000 something, which is incredible large scene. Nice. So what about the other functions? We can go ahead and start implement undo and redo, which is here, and instead of undo we will do self dot central widget scene dot history dot undo, and with the redo we will just call redo, and with the delete we are just going to call something like self dot central widget dot scene dot gr scene dot views, the first one, and we are going to call delete selected. So let's check out the node graphic view. We should have delete selected method, which is here. This is awesome, and let me quickly check if this will actually work or we need to adjust it somehow. Yeah, this one should basically work, I think. So keyPress event, maybe we can leave that here, doesn't matter. But now when I press delete, it got deleted, which is awesome. So let's try Ctrl Z, Ctrl Shift Z, this one works too. Awesome. So we basically got our logic from the keyPress event here. Maybe let's try to hide this one. And let's try to comment out everything what is here. And if I press play, I can select Ctrl Z, Ctrl Shift Z, delete key, Ctrl new. I can do undo, redo. I can basically save as, replace, Ctrl N to clear everything, Ctrl O to open. Yep, and this works, which is awesome. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching, and see you at the next part.